Hello there, shooters, collectors, history buffs, and people who left their devices unattended and it started playing random videos. Welcome to another episode of What I Found in Dad's Secret Arsenal. Today I have a very interesting old gun that I took out of the cabinet, an old shotgun. It goes by many different names, and I'm going to be calling it the Zulu conversion shotgun. That seems to be an all-encompassing name for this type of shotgun. So, some people call these an 1853/67 shotgun. Some people call this a model 1857/67 shotgun. Some people call it a Tabatire or a Tabatire shotgun, which means snuff box in French, though I don't speak French. As you can tell, I'm from New York and I struggle to speak English that you can understand. So that's why I'll be calling this a Zulu conversion shotgun from now on. Now, the history of this, as I researched it, is pretty convoluted. So if you have any information that you can share, please put that down in the comments. I'd be very interested in getting a conversation going on this and maybe getting to the bottom of what we really had going on with these guns. It seems like these shotguns started out in France in the early 1850s, although some of them seem to be dated even further back and may have been made out of flintlock rifles or muskets and other different types of guns, though this one seems to be a military rifle that was a black powder muzzleloading rifle made in the early 1850s. And in 1867, a lot of those surplus rifles were converted into breech loaders. What they did is they cut the barrel down and they added this breech loading mechanism so you could use a cartridge. And they carved the stock out and put the tang back here, where originally these flat spots came all the way to the back and you had your percussion cap nipple there to put your percussion cap on. And it also had a ramrod back then. The stock went all the way to the end of the barrel. And when they turned them into breech loaders, they were still rifles, but they just turned them into breech loading rifles and made them more efficient, like a lot of the Enfield rifles. And in the States, they had Springfield rifles that they turned into trapdoor rifles. It was easier and less expensive to convert a lot of the muzzleloading rifles of the time into these breech loaders. And it seems like every country had their own version of these breech loading type rifles. So this was the one that they used in France. After the Franco-Prussian War in the late 1860s and early 1870s, France seemed to have gathered up a whole bunch of these surplus rifles that they either used in the war or had left over. It seems like they also took even some flintlock rifles and some earlier percussion rifles with different lock mechanisms, and they shipped them all off to armories in Belgium, where they reamed the barrels out and cut the stocks down. And you can see, again, where they filled in the ramrod hole and the barrel band, and they pinned the barrel back over here, it looks like, and got rid of the barrel bands and made it more like a shotgun. And the Belgians sold these guns, and some of them were very crude. A lot of them didn't even have hammer spurs. They had the stocks look like they were hacked off with a hatchet. Some of them were in really terrible, terrible condition. And this one's actually pretty nice. It's got a decent hammer on it, and the inside of the barrel is pretty beat. And you can see where the rifling was reamed out of this. It was a rifle at one time. So it makes me wonder about its history and what it could have been used for. I know that the Belgians sold a lot of these to people going out west during the Western expansion in the States. Some of them seem to have gone to Africa and were used by colonists in Africa. I would imagine this one stayed here in the States. My father bought it here somewhere. It looked like it may have had writing on the lock at one time that was ground off. And it was a very inexpensive gun in that time. So a lot of the things that we have today are these disposable things that we all take for granted. But back in their day, a gun was an expensive item. And you didn't just throw one away. So they converted a lot of these, and they were difficult to make. They were difficult to manufacture. They didn't have the machining and the techniques that they have today. So a repeating rifle was a very expensive investment. At the time when they were making these guns were between $3 and $5, where a repeating rifle at that time was between $15 and $20. So you really saved yourself a lot of money by going with this option guns, where you could protect your family, you could hunt game, and you had a way to defend yourself. These guns are very plentiful. They seem to be out there. They're not, like I said, they're not particularly valuable because I think they were considered abominations at the time. They were converted so many times. There were so many different ones. Like I said, some of them might have been flintlocks. I think they're just deemed pretty much unsafe for shooting, and they're mainly just wall hangers. So for that reason, I don't think that they got a lot of attention or their value climbed very much. But I have to admit, guys, with this gun, you guys know I was trying. Well, maybe you guys don't know, but I've been trying to get videos out at a reasonable pace and getting these guns out and taking these videos and learn my editing skills. But this gun has given me such a problem taking a video of and even getting this story out. I've been stumbling over my words. I've been screwing up I tried to upgrade my display here a little bit. I've been having batteries go dead. I've been having microphone problems, cords pulling out. I'm not a particularly religious or spiritual person, but this gun really made me wonder about some of the stuff in Dad's collection and what kind of action it may have seen. And I feel like some of these guns, I'm just gonna, maybe light a candle over or say a prayer before I wipe them down and put them back in their cases. And I'm curious if anybody else has anything to add about that. Does anybody else have any kind of weird guns in their collection that just kind of give them the creeps? Because this gun's kind of giving me the creeps. I have to tell you, I have to admit. I don't know where this thing has been. It could have been used in multiple wars. It could have been used in Indian wars. It could have been used for anything. I mean, this thing has a 170-year history, and who knows what kind of life it's taken in that time. And like some of these things, most of Dad's guns he bought new and never shot them at anything other than clay birds and paper targets. But this one weirds me out a little bit, and I'd love to hear what people have to say about that in the comments. So let me know what you think, and we'll see you again next time.